What's good, R&B squad? This is Heart of Ruth. I trust that this message meets you guys in good spirits. If you're new to this family, we don't believe that you're here by accident. Welcome. We're happy to have you, and Jesus is, of course, always happier. The word that I have today comes from something that the Lord showed to me in the spirit and a discussion that we had, conversation that we had in my private time with Him regarding what I saw in the spirit. And as per usual, you will know by the details whether or not this word is for you. Please eat the meat, spit out the bone, take what's for you, and leave the rest. I do have a feeling, though, that many of you are going to be able to resonate with what's in this word. So, getting right into what I saw in the spirit, I saw the most beautiful chaste tree. And for those of you who are familiar with the chaste tree, you'll know that it is known for its very vibrant color. It has a very vibrant hue. And it was windy out as I was looking at this tree, and the wind was blowing through the branches. And so I could see the tree. It was just swaying in the breeze, but not so much that it would bend or anything like that. It was very firm in its stance, and the wind blew through it. And I was just standing there admiring this tree because I thought it was so beautiful. Something about it just drew me to it. And behind the tree, there was a house, and it was a very beautiful house. It was painted white, the exterior was white, and it was this tall, lovely house. And I remember just standing there looking at the image in front of me and thinking, wow, the house is beautiful, and the chaste tree is equally beautiful. And then I came away from what I was seeing in the spirit. And so I went before the Lord and I said, a chaste tree and a white house. And He started downloading things to me. And He described the tree again to remind me of what it is I saw. That it was such a beautiful tree that even though the wind was blowing around it, it stood firm. And the wind blew through the branches, but it didn't bend the branches. It stood tall and it stood firm. And not only that, there was a house behind it. The house almost seemed like it was acting as an anchor to the tree. Like because it was there, because it was positioned there, the wind could not sway the tree. And so the house was equally beautiful. It was painted in white, and it was as beautiful as the chaste tree. And the Lord had me focus on the word chaste, chastity. And He led me to a couple scriptures, which I will get into for a moment. But the tree is for those of you who are in your single season, those of you who are not yet married and you are waiting for marriage. The Lord is reminding you today that chastity is important. Chastity is important because when you consecrate yourself unto the Lord and you remain pure, and you set yourself apart just for Him in your single season, you become just like that chaste tree. Not only are you beautiful, not only do you stand firm regardless of what is going on around you. The wind was blowing, but it did not bend the branches of that tree. Regardless of what is going on around you, when you stay chaste, when you stay pure, you're able to stand firm even in the face of temptation, even in the face of offers that are being made to you that are not from God. So some of you are in your singleness season, you're in your season of singleness, and there are people that are coming to you with offers. They might be asking you out. Some of them are looking for something a little more casual. We're not even going to go into detail, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? And as long as you decide to consecrate yourself unto God, there is something that happens in you. Not only are you able to withstand temptation and resist it, the more you resist it, the better you get at it, but also it draws people to you. Your chastity, your purity, it creates a beauty about you that draws people. I was very drawn to that tree and to that house, and notice the house was painted in white, which also represented purity. It stood tall and it was painted in white. And even now, as I'm giving this word, the Lord is describing the house not only as a representation of Him, as the house of God, anchoring you and keeping you pure, but also the house representing a male in his purity, a husband to be, and the chaste tree representing a woman a wife to be in her purity and her chastity, and how the two of you will naturally complement and be drawn to each other because you are both set apart unto the Lord. So it's important to be chaste. Your chastity, your purity is important. It creates a beauty in you that is almost irresistible. That's why some of you, those of you who are already heeding that, those of you who are already keeping yourself pure, you will find that people are drawn to you. All kinds of people are drawn to you. And it's because of that. They can't put their finger on what it is. But chastity and consecrating yourself unto the Lord, it creates a beauty in you that is hard to ignore. People can't tell what it is about you that makes you so attractive, but that's what it is. It's you consecrating yourself unto the Lord. And then, the thing about it is, there are marriages in this world that happen in this world that are not godly marriages. And then there are marriages that are godly marriages. Let me make y'all understand something. Covenant means nothing to this world. Covenant means absolutely nothing to this world. So there are folk out there who are out there in the world. And while I'm not judging them because it's not my place to do that, only God can do that. There are folk out there in the world, and this is the situation. This is what happens. You got a man who was running the streets, you got a female who is running the streets, and then the two of them come together and they decide to run to the altar. So they run right off the streets straight to the altar. And then later on, when problems start to happen in the marriage and the marriage breaks down, they wonder why. It's because you weren't prepared. You were not properly prepped. Think about it. In every stage of your life, there is a prepping period that you go through. So you go to kindergarten in order to prep for elementary school. You go to elementary school to prep for high school, junior high, and then high school. You go to high school to prep for college. You go to college to prep for the world of work. So why do we think that we can be out here running the streets and then run straight to the altar and there was no prep? This is what causes the breakdown in marriage. So if two people were out there partying and drinking and cussing and carrying on and having premarital sex and all that kinds of stuff, and then they went straight from that into marriage, that's not going to work. There is no way that that's going to work because you went into a worldly covenant, not a godly covenant. And that right there is the root of the problem. That's why so many worldly marriages do not last. That's why so many worldly marriages fall apart. And so I'm here to remind somebody today that prep is important. Prep is important. If you can relate to that, if that resonates with you, put it in the comments. Prep is important. You've got to be prepped, and you can only prep for marriage in your singleness. You cannot prep for marriage when you're married. You have to prep for it in your singleness. And that's what a lot of people out there in the world don't do. And that is why marriages fall apart. And so there are those of you who you're wondering, why is it taking so long? Why hasn't God sent my person yet? It's because he's still prepping you. He is still prepping you. And when you get done with your prep, and that can look different, that timeline can look different for everyone. When you get done with your prep, then he will send you your person. And nobody is saying that you have to be perfect before he sends your person. Nobody is saying that the two of you have to be perfect, because no two individuals are ever going to be perfect. But you do have to have a certain amount of refinement before he brings you into that season. You have to prep. You cannot escape the prep. And so the Lord led me to Proverbs 18, chapter 22. He who finds a wife, and this is being read from the Amplified Bible, he who finds a true and faithful wife finds a good thing and obtains favor and approval from the Lord. So that is why that chaste tree was so beautiful. Notice here it says, and I love the Amplified Bible version, it says, he who finds a true and faithful wife. How do you as a man or as a woman get to be a true and faithful person? That doesn't happen after you go to the altar. It happens before. You have to be consecrated unto the Lord. You have to be faithful to him first. And I've said this in other words. in order for you to be faithful to your spouse. It's going to be easy for you to be faithful to your spouse if you have been keeping yourself pure for the Lord during your singleness. And then the Lord led me to Proverbs 31, verse 30. Charm and grace are deceptive, and superficial beauty is vain. But a woman who fears the Lord, reverently worshiping, obeying, serving, and trusting Him with awe-filled respect, she shall be praised. And those scriptures, again, are from the Amplified Bible. I'm going to put them in the description box. So be a chaste tree. Be a chaste tree. Be a chaste tree among all the trees that are not bearing fruit in this world. I hope that this message blessed someone. I hope that it reached the right ears. I love you guys. I will be back with another word as soon as the Lord releases me. Take care.